and welcome to the Epic Exchange, the podcast where we have real conversations about senior life, senior living, dementia care, and all the amazing people who make it all happen. I'm Erica Lab, Director of Team Member Engagement and Culture with Epic Senior Living, the premier senior living provider in the Northeast.
And I'm Sarah Turcotte, Area Community Liaison for several of our Bridges by Epic and Waterstone communities. Together, we'll be your hosts, bringing you stories, insights, and expert voices from across our organization and beyond. Whether you're a caregiver, a family member, a professional, somebody navigating the early stages of dementia, this podcast probably has something for you. We're here to share what we've learned, spotlight the work happening every day in senior care, and offer ideas and inspiration to support the well-being at every stage of aging.
And each episode will be joined by guests who are making a difference, from community leaders to care team members and clinical experts. Today, we are delighted to be joined by Detective McEnaney of the Westford, Massachusetts Police Department, who is here to share important information about scams that often target older adults. So we'll be learning all about scams. We'll be discussing what we can all do to protect ourselves in today's environment. Welcome, Detective, to the show.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
It's great to have you here.
Very excited to have you. I mean, scams are something that we are hearing about more and more lately. It's definitely something that is top of mind and can be, something we all worry about, especially when it comes to our seniors. But, we're really not here to try to scare anyone, but it's really about being aware and knowing what to look out for so we can all stay a little safer. So we're so happy to have you here to share your expertise today. Can't thank you enough. So let's just kind of start, understanding this landscape. Does your department spend a lot of time on outreach and education around this scam prevention?
Yeah, I've done a few presentations at the senior center doing scam awareness. I know our social media pages will, if we keep getting calls for certain scams that we're seeing, we'll kind of push it out on the social media pages, letting residents know. And I think it's a good way to kind of spread the word that way.
Yeah, that's why we wanted to have you on the show so much, because we were like, the more that we can get word out and having sort of an expert that is seeing it on a regular basis
spread
is
the word for sure.
Really meaningful. So thank you for doing so much work on that.
And I think so many people are on social media. So I think whether you're here in Westford or, no matter what community you live in, it might behoove us to maybe follow our local police department pages, because you must be putting these types of notices that are affecting your residents.
Yeah, absolutely. I know you'll see, if Westford posts something, you'll see maybe a neighboring town, whether it's Air or Chelmsford, they'll repost it, say, hey, this is a scam that we're seeing too.
Even so, the state of Massachusetts was posting one about the Easy Pass.
Easy Pass, yeah. I think everyone was getting those. I'm getting them on my work phone.
Yeah, pay your Easy Pass bill, and you're like, wait a minute, this doesn't look right.
No.
I'm thinking maybe it would make sense to talk about some of the scams that are happening kind of right now. Does that make sense? Before we get into like how it's changed over time and things like that. Just some of the scams you're seeing kind of currently, or the most I don't want to say popular, common scams.
For sure, the most common. They all kind of start with random phone calls, text messages, emails, but for the folks over 60, it's a lot of the grandparent scams, the romance trust scams, tech support scam, and the government impersonation. Those are ones that we've been seeing too.
So give an example of like a sort of a case study, what it looks like. Yeah,
so for the, say, a grandparent scam, it's someone will get a phone call, whether it's, the scammer will pretend they're a lawyer saying, hey, your grandson, your granddaughter, they've been in an accident. We need, medical bills, need payments, or we've even seen they're in jail, so they need bail money. They use that kind of panic. A grandparent, you hear that, they say, oh, I need to help my, grandson, granddaughter immediately. And they create that sense of urgency, and they will kind of keep you on the phone until they get what they want.
Wow. It's like the fear.
Mm-hmm.
Fear
Absolutely.
response.
Yeah,
wow.
create fear. You're not really thinking clearly. You just kind of want to help right away.
Yeah, trying to move fast.
Yeah.
And I think it's important to point out that these scam artists are also able to kind of change the way their numbers appear as they're calling people. So it could look like it's a familiar number.
Absolutely.
Or coming in as someone or some organization you might know.
Yeah, absolutely. You see that a lot with, it's like a computerized number, a VoIP, a voice over internet protocol number. And like you said, they can make it, we're in Westford, they can make it look like a Westford number.
Right.
Very common and tough to trace.
Wow.
So if a phone call like this comes in, what are some key phrases or key, items that are coming up that people should pay attention to?
Yeah. So some red flags for that. It's, they'll pretend they're from a well-known organization, an organization that you know, or somebody that like the grandparent. They'll use that fear, but
And they use like the kid's name and everything,
yes,
right?
yeah,
Like,
they do a lot of reason, like
detail.
social media. They'll dive into that. They'll get a lot of information from that. And it's crazy how much information's on the internet about you.
Right.
So they do their research and they look up all this stuff, but they get they do their homework before. So
Wow.
But as far as another red flag, I'd say requesting money, whether it's they'll ask for payments via money transfer, a wire transfer, gift cards. We see that a lot. Hey, go to a CVS, Walgreens, or Dollar Tree. Go get a Nike gift card or an eBay gift card. Scratch the number off. Take a picture. Send it to this email or send it to this text. That's a red flag right off the bat.
Okay.
Crypto. We have those crypto machines in town. Most of those transactions are just scammers. Hey, go to this crypto machine. There's a bunch of warnings on it.
What do you like? Insert a credit card? I'm not even familiar.
Yeah,
with the
there's like
machine.
it looks like an ATM
Okay.
machine, and then it will just you wire money that way.
Wow.
And then that money goes to one account to another one. It just kind of
It's
gets
gone.
dispersed.
You're gone.
Yeah, it's tough.
Wow.
And I think it's so hard, right? Because so many of us like to help, local charities and organizations, and it's hard to decipher, what is real and what is fake. So, how are legitimate, fundraisers or things coming through, right?
It's definitely tough. I wouldn't trust anything over, the phone or a text message. Me personally, I got my, grandparents, loved ones that are getting these calls. Just say, hey, ignore
Don't
all
respond.
calls. If
All
you don't know
calls.
the number, ignore it. Let it go to voicemail.
Right.
If it's important, they'll leave a voicemail. The text messages, ignore those too. Report as junk. You'll get some that kind of start off like, hey, how's it going? You want to meet for lunch tomorrow? And it's just a random text. And then, they're just they send that out to everyone.
Right.
And then, that might
See who
create-
bites.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's just a wide net. But those just don't respond to those emails, the junk emails too. Those you'll see like the tech support scams that I was talking about earlier. You'll get an email and saying that there's, an issue with your service when there's really not.
Right.
And they'll, ultimately get control of your computer.
Yeah,
Have
don't
full
click
access.
any links.
Yeah, no
don't
links.
click any
Absolutely
links.
not.
Is it my imagination or is it getting more sophisticated?
It's definitely,
Okay.
everything's evolving. Scammers, criminals, they're evolving. It's always changing. So it's, a lot of, we got even AI. They're using
Right.
the AI to match the sound of a voice of a loved one
Oh, gosh.
when they call.
It's frightening.
That
It's
is frightening.
frightening.
it just creates that fear like we were talking about.
So let's say someone identifies that someone is reaching them, whether it's via phone, text, or email, and this is suspicious. What do you recommend people do? How should people respond once they've identified, hey, this is happening to me?
Yeah.
They can certainly report it to their local police department. Like whether if they fall victim, if they fall victim to it, absolutely report it. But even if it's just something that they you know, they engage, they answer the phone, but they know that it's, you know, a little suspicious. They can call us. I personally would like to know, you know, it could be a new scam that we haven't seen before. So knowledge is power, and getting that information is certainly important.
So not to feel alone, and they can call you guys. And
Absolutely,
check in
yeah.
about
We're
it.
open 24/7. So
Yeah, that's great to know.
So what are you doing if someone, you know, reports this, even though nothing's been lost? You know, I know it's helpful information, but are we trying to figure out, you know, how can we stop this, or
Yeah,
how do you guys look into these kind of matters?
yeah, sometimes it's we'll document it in a police report, so it's on file, and then, you know, whether there's a crime or not, it's, you know, there's search warrants, there's admin subpoenas, but, you know, those take some time too.
Sure.
But it's, you know, whether it's an email or phone number, they send out an admin subpoena for the phone number. It could come
right.
back to email address, and you kind of go down the subpoena
Yeah.
rabbit hole. But
But the information is helpful, so
I absolutely, I think, you know, like I said, it could be a scam that we aren't aware of, and, you know, all that information that they have would be super helpful.
So like red flags are like number you don't recognize. If it feels kind of funny, if it's like an urgent need of a loved one, but
Yeah.
they're asking for money, not support of the loved one.
Yeah,
right.
yeah, like red flag, whether there's an issue, a problem, or a prize. You know,
Yeah.
when they're just kind of, that's the red flag, but take, you know,
Panic.
yeah, sit back and just kind of take a deep breath and kind of think that through. If people start recognizing that's a red flag, they can
Right.
kind of just sit back and not believe everything you hear. Like you said, we're not trying to create a, you know, ultimate fear over these scams, but just take a moment, you know, whether you can call a loved one, family member, friend, or the police department, and just say, hey, I'm getting this phone call. They're saying it's my granddaughter. She's arrested. You can call the police department.
Right,
We can
find
walk
out.
you through.
Right,
Yeah.
right. And it's interesting too. I think that in the moment we're so worried and freaking out, but once we take that breath, it's like, okay, this doesn't feel
Yeah.
right. And you can always kind of find out for sure. I know someone that got scammed, and someone said that we have your daughter, right? So she thought, oh my gosh, like my child's been kidnapped.
Yeah.
But she thought to say, well, what's her middle name?
That's smart.
Click, you know,
Yeah.
and I was
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
wow, but I can't believe she thought of that.
Yeah.
But
that was
you know,
definitely quick on her feet.
Yeah.
yeah,
that's
but
awesome.
thinking and preparing,
Yeah.
like how would I cope? What are some questions I could ask? And like in our family, we have a safe word that we use that like nobody would know, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So thinking of ways, and that's why I love that we're talking about it, because sometimes even just bringing attention, you're less likely to fall for it.
Exactly.
You
Yeah.
know,
100%.
make yourself vulnerable to these things.
Absolutely. And I even think about bringing awareness to family member caregivers. You know, at Bridges, we're working with family members who are caring for a loved one with dementia and various cognitive impairments. So what advice could you maybe give a family member caregiver when it comes to looking out for their loved one that might not be able to lean on their own devices?
Yeah.
Yeah. Ultimately, just, you know, like we talked about the red flags, you know, maybe even sit down with the loved one over the phone, kind of looking through the phones. And I see that a lot with, you know, people with dementia,
good.
falling victim of these crimes, but they ultimately have a loved one that's, you know, maybe a little too late, or they're on top of it, where they're keeping track of the phone calls and
Asking questions like,
yeah.
what is this? Who's this person you're texting?
exactly,
You know,
yeah.
cash app to or whatever.
like the social media too. You know, they can create fake accounts. You know,
Right.
use friends. I know what happened to my grandmother years ago. Someone made a spoof account
Wow.
about my it was my grandmother's Facebook, and, you know, friending people. So that's, you know, kind of starts with there. You know, keep your social media private, I'd
Yeah.
say. I know
That's a great
yeah.
point.
Watch what you put on there. Obviously, you don't want to put any personal information,
Right.
you know, that's visible for people to find out and easy access to.
They even say purchasing things on social media sites can be a slippery slope
It is,
too.
yes. There's a lot of
that's
scams
good
with
to
that.
know.
I would try not to purchase that, because you just never know.
Because you want to go directly to a website and double check that it's the actual website, like the
Yeah.
URL that you put in there.
100%.
Because sometimes you Google, which we all love to use, and you Google, say LL Bean,
Yeah.
and the first thing that comes up looks like LL Bean, but it's not LL Bean,
Yeah.
but not to say that, but anything like that, you always have to double check. I know I've gotten emails from my boss, and it's her name, her title, and asking me to get her a gift card or whatever, and or give her the company credit card because she needs it right away, and it. From like initial look, I was
legit.
like, oh gee, she really needs me,
Yeah.
right? I'm like excited, my boss needs me, right? I'm gonna be the hero. And then when I looked at the actual email address, it was
one
One
letter,
off.
one
yeah,
letter
I was like,
off. One
yeah, it was
letter
like
off.
off, and I was like, that doesn't look right. But had I not been trained, to start looking for that,
Yep.
I get caught up in the emotional response, and excited or scared or whatever it is, and then you act on it, and this can ruin people's lives.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, thousands of dollars.
Wow.
It's just it's sad to see, but it's certainly a real thing, and it's out there, and it's happening to a lot of people.
And there's not much recourse, right? I mean, how often are you figuring out who sort of started the scam or who's responsible for stealing the money?
It's
I hate to ask that of a detective.
No,
'cause
it's kind of tough because
hard.
depending on how soon the report comes
Right.
in, whether someone sits on it for a long time and then they finally report it, but that money's, say it went to a crypto machine, it's just two different counts and it's in a different country.
Right.
And they're, we ask for a legal request and they can just say, no. It's
Wow.
tough. But, if they get on it right away, we can contact the banks. Hey, is this money still in the account? Can we, freeze this?
Yep.
The
good.
faster we get it, the better.
Great. That's
and,
great.
yeah.
At least it stops it from continuing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. We've even done the crypto where we go to the machine, get a search warrant from the machine,
Wow.
and take that money out. But it's kind of that's kind of a slippery slope too to see. We don't know how many people have used that and whatnot.
Right.
Yeah.
How often is it local? How often is it a local crime?
Oh, it happens quite a bit.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Oh, yeah. The crypto, the grandparents, the ATM, the gift card, a lot. You see a lot of that. Even like the social media, pretending to be
Somebody else.
somebody else, building that trust. And then, hey, there's a problem. I need some financial money.
Right.
And then they just say, oh, no, we've had this friendship. Some people are lonely and really love that friendship. And I've talked to some people saying, yeah, I've known it's a scam, but, I like the communication aspect to it.
Oh,
But,
gosh.
I have heard a tip before where someone had shared that, if you're utilizing a savings and keeping the bulk of your money in a savings account rather than into your, something that has access to your debit or checking account can be helpful too, because then, the majority of your money is kept in a space that's not electronically
very smart.
deposited.
Yeah,
Very
that's
smart.
interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. And to get access to it might take you a little longer, so you might take the time to think about wait a minute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even putting limits on your, you have it on your savings and
Right.
you put a limit on your, your credit,
withdraw
your
or
checking
spend.
card. Yeah.
Must
not
be
more than
approved more
500.
than this.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
That's
yeah,
very smart
that's-
too.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's
You-
wild.
I think it's just so important to talk about these ideas and ways that we can protect ourselves. Besides people tuning into this podcast, are there other statewide resources or hotlines or educational programs you might be able to recommend?
Yeah. The Federal Trade Commission, the FTC, they have a website with a bunch of information on the signs to see.
Oh, great.
Mass.gov, you type in mass.gov scams, they have a ton of information too.
Do they keep track of what's happening now?
They'll
that's
list some
great.
stuff, especially the FBI. Let me see. I think I got the website here.
Oh, great.
The FBI IC3 website. They have a ton of information on scams and kind of break it into sections, even age, where it's over 60.
Oh, great.
They'll have the common scams like that.
Oh, it's so great. 'cause
And how
that's a
much
helpful
money's
tool.
been
So much
ta-
awareness.
Yeah. So it's pretty interesting to take a look at that website. I know we got a couple stats right here if you want me to share.
Yeah,
I
that'd
would
be
love
great.
it if you could,
With
please.
the FBI IC3, age over 60 received 147 1,000 complaints. This is in year 2024.
Is this nationally?
Yeah,
Okay.
the FBI one. Age over 60 losses totaled over 4.8 billion.
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 With a B.
Wow.
Holy smokes.
There was a 43% increase in losses reported from 2023, which is a huge increase.
Wow.
It's almost 50%
Yep.
increase.
That's wild.
The average loss for 60-plus victims exceed 83,000. Wow. And it's not just over 60. It's everyone of all ages that are falling for these scams.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even when you're not falling for it, like you said, I mean, I was just at a amusement park a month or so ago and I got a text, did you try to purchase the $1,000 purchase on Facebook? And it was no. And luckily they, were able to stop everything. But I'm
Yeah.
like, what did I even do or go
Yeah.
on? And
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the rate at which we are interacting online with so many different, vulnerable sites, like even just like day to day, it just puts us we're just inundated with
Yeah.
information. So it's hard to like pay attention to which ones are legit and which ones aren't.
Yeah.
And I would imagine there's probably some sense of shame. Not that there should be, because you're victims, right? We're all victims of this, but there probably is, like, I would imagine that skew the numbers because people don't want to come forward because they're embarrassed or they
Yes,
feel
certainly.
shame.
You see that a lot.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where they need to know they're not alone. It's happening to everybody. But no, you do see that a lot. It's tough when you're in a relationship and they're doing it, and the loved one has no idea, and there's a lot
terrible.
of just embarrassed with their family members. It's certainly tough, but.
Because that's
Still, they need to
quite a
talk.
connection to take advantage of.
Yes, yeah.
It's like loneliness and everyone's desire for human connection, and then
Yeah.
someone takes advantage like that.
Yep.
There was a really good documentary on, I think, one of the either Netflix or something, Hulu, that was about this guy that did that to potential partners all over the country, but he's like getting money from all of them, and
Yeah.
the heartbreak for all of the women that he, victimized that way. But, they all were like, oh, he showed me love and he showed me, affection and attention.
it's
and
happening to our seniors every
Yeah,
day.
it really
Isolation,
is.
social isolation can really play, like
Leave a
you said,
number
a
on
big
you.
part on this. Yeah.
So don't feel embarrassed.
No,
Call for
absolutely not.
help. It's happening everywhere.
Yep, and when in doubt, if you don't want to talk to a family member or you're too embarrassed, call the police department.
Call the
We'll walk
police.
you through. Whether
Thank
if you
you.
have a question, hey, is this a real scam, or is this is this a real scenario? We can walk you through. An officer will come out and kind of walk you through the steps.
That's great.
It's really
That's wonderful.
awesome work you're doing. And, thinking about this, are there, any systems or software people should be looking into that might be able to help protect them or ward off, scams that happen?
There's certainly some softwares out there. I'm not a computer expert by any means, but I'd say some antivirus, a reputable, well-known antivirus company would definitely be beneficial.
Sure.
But again, I'm not
Your
an expert
expertise.
on that.
Yeah.
But
Some basic hygiene on your computer
Yeah.
and your
Well, and I know
apps.
some people also invest in things that, check their credit reports on a monthly basis to see if any new accounts or credit cards were taken out
Yeah.
within their names. And it
Yes.
will say no new accounts made.
Yes.
Or I think one of them is like My True Identity.
Yeah.
That's a program that you can purchase
That's
that
great.
just notifies you if things are happening with
Oh, that's
your
awesome. Yeah.
with you.
And paying attention to you or if you're a caregiver, your loved one's spending, right? Because you can tell so quickly. I mean, luckily the banks are doing that now. They see something and they're like, that doesn't look like you, and
Yes.
you're like, no, it really is this time.
Yeah.
But, like they notice because of AI, they can tell like something that looks unusual and they often will reach out. But even for yourself, if you're being victimized by someone that you know or love, they might know where to spend that money so it doesn't look that weird. So really paying attention, did I spend that much at that
Yeah.
store, and like looking at your accounts. Used to be it was like in the ledger, right? But now we can get it, right real quick,
Yep.
look at our accounts
Yep.
by the minute, You making fun of my
No,
old-timey talk.
I love the ledger.
The old ledger.
No, this is super helpful. And do you feel like there's any key takeaways or anything that we, should mention before we wrap up our program?
I would just, kind of preach again, just the red flags. If you get those unknown, the phone calls, the unknown text, whether someone's asking for money or saying there's a problem, and kind of just do not give any personal information out over the phone or, email, just kind of those red flags. Just, if it happens to you, you can just sit back and think, yep, no, I remember hearing this on this podcast,
Right.
or just knowing those red flags is a huge win.
Absolutely. And when in doubt, reach out to your
Exactly.
local police department. They're there and happy to help. And, as Detective shared, it is helpful information. There's no information too small that can't
Yep.
help the great work that you're doing
Absolutely.
in trying to stop this.
Yeah,
So,
Detective McEnaney from the Westford Police Department. Thank you so much. We really appreciate having you on the show.
Thank you for having me.
yeah.
pleasure.
Thank you. And until the next time, take care.
Take care. We'll see you soon.